CrossFit Resolve members, I've got Bro here today who's agreed to film a class with us. So all the things that we've done so far, so finding some props at home, if you don't have a bolster, using a pillow, using some cushions. If you've got some trigger balls or some tennis balls, grab those. We're going to use a roller today as well. So if you've got a roller or an empty bottle of wine, if that's all you've got time to do at home, whatever you can, just to sort of roll out some of our muscles. So we're here in New Farm Park. We're going to get cracking with the first two poses that we always do, which is laying over the bolster. So I'll skip out of the set. You'll see Bro for the whole class. And if you've got any questions, feel free just to send me some comments or shoot me a text. Otherwise, we'll get going with our class. So if you just want to come to lay over the bolster, Bro, just making sure that the bottom's on the ground. And either having the legs out flat, as Bro's got them now, or if you want to come into hip flexors, you can draw the soles of the feet together into our reclining butterfly pose. So just finding whatever suits you. Just as we start our first pose here, we just take that time to lengthen the breath. So trying to inhale and exhale through the nose. And if you can, start to lengthen the breath. So inhaling maybe for 4, and exhaling for 6. So we just expand that exhale, moving into parasympathetic nervous system. So looking at those rest and digest hormones, opposed to our stress hormones, so our adrenaline and our cortisol. So we're moving out of the stressful day, out of the worry and the panic, out of your work day if you've worked today. And just coming to find some rest here. We'll spend about another 5 to 8 breaths here, so just over a minute. Hopefully everyone's been following these classes along at home, so I can't teach in the gym. Taking our last 3 breaths here, so trying to maintain that slow inhale and that protracted exhale. Awesome. So over the next couple of breaths, we're just going to take that bolster out from behind us. So either rolling to one side or sitting up. Just removing the bolster, or if you're playing along at home and you've got pillows and cushions, just taking them out of the way. And then we're just going to come to lay flat on our backs and drawing the knees into the chest. Just giving yourself a squeeze here. If the neck is okay, you can take nose to knees. If you've got some pain through the neck or some neck issues, just keeping the head down. Obviously, Bro doesn't. Just nice little tight squeeze, getting into the cervical spine, and then we're going to move into a bit more of a complex twist today. So we do this one often in mobility. So we're going to ground the feet. We're going to cross the knees over each other, so like we're crossing the legs. And we're going to reach down and hold on to our right ankle with our left hand. So just crossing the legs all the way over if you can, Bro. And then can you reach your right ankle? No, that's okay, so you can just do what you're doing. So just letting the legs come down, holding on to that right ankle. Beautiful. And so we're getting a lot more hip in this stretch than we are into the spine, and that's okay. It just really depends on mobility in terms of what poses we're obviously able to get into and out of. Is that okay for your knees, Bro?
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Beautiful. So either keeping the head nice and square, or you can turn the head away from that leg, which is what Bro's done here. quad. Rolling the shoulders back and down, so releasing any tension that may be in the neck. And again, we're spending in most of our poses a couple of minutes. Just checking in with yourself, seeing how the back is feeling, how the hips are feeling. And just reminding yourself to come back to that breath that we use as an anchor. So keeping us here present, trying not to be thinking about too much. And of course, if this pose was too strenuous with that left foot on top as Bros is, you could just take that foot down to the ground. So if that's too much external hip rotation, you could lower the foot down. Bro looks quite comfortable, so we'll hold just for another 3 breaths. Alright, and then slowly that foot that's on top, we can gently release. Once again, draw the knees into the chest, just resetting the spine. As the knees pull in, we try and keep the tailbone down, so we maintain lengthening out through the low spine. And then we're simply changing sides. So we're going to ground the feet again. This time the right ankle is going to go over the left. We're going to reach down and hold on to that left foot with the left hand as we let the knees drop towards the camera this time. So as you can see, Bro's moving into that gentle spinal release, more into hips for this particular pose. Just finding space in through the shoulders, down through the spine. So finding what is comfortable for you, what's manageable for the couple of minutes that we're going to be here.
Just feeling on the quad.
In the left quad?
Yeah.
We're going to go for a different twist, but because where you're tight in your body, you wouldn't be able to get the legs across each other.
Yeah.
So, and this is fine, because people feel it in their quads. Some people will be able to go a bit deeper into their into the pose, like into the rotation, but quads are good. I was going to hit quads a little bit later on if we have time. And then just maintaining that deep resonant breath. So if you can, inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Or if the lungs are feeling good, now they're possibly warmed up with this deep breathing, you can inhale for 6 and exhale for 8. And we try and inhale, exhale through the nose. We're just building that VO2 max. So we're building that residual lung capacity. So then when we move into our dynamic CrossFit, we've got that capability then of trying to lengthen the breath and increase our performance. Let's just take another 3 to 5 breaths here. We'll just see how that feels. Taking one more inhale here. And a big exhale. And then once again, we'll just release that top foot, slowly coming back onto our backs. Give ourselves a squeeze. If the neck's okay, this time definitely take the nose to the knee. Come into a tight little ball just for a couple of breaths. Think about trying to get that chin as far towards the chest as you can so we get that release up into our first cervical fusion, the atlas. And then we're just going to draw ourselves all the way to sit, and we're going to move into our adductors. So you'll face this way, bro. Yep. Grabbing the bolster. If at home, again, if you don't have a bolster, just grabbing the cushion, the pillows off of your bed or some cushions. We're going to sit up nice and tall and take the legs wide. And we'll bring the bolster, you'll use the bolster to come forward. Yeah. And we'll see how your hips feel. So taking the legs as far wide as you can without this being painful. Are you right? Yeah. Yeah. And then, so if you're leaning back, so if you can't maintain a long spine, now is when you would grab either a cushion or you could roll your towel up or whatever else to place under the buttocks. So at the gym, those who are tight, you'll know that we use an ab mat just to tilt the pelvis. That's better. And then keeping the feet active if we can, so toes move back towards the body, lengthen through the spine, inhale. And then as we exhale, we're going to try and fold forward. So we're just coming to that first point of resistance. So we should be feeling this through inner thigh, through the adductors. Is that okay? Tight? Yeah, cool. So if you're a little bit more limber through the adductors and you've got some pillows or something there, you may be able to come a little further forward onto the bolster. We just want to find comfort in the discomfort, so we don't want to injure ourselves here. And the adductors take a while to stretch. I'm just trying to use the exhale, particularly through the tighter muscle groups, so adductors, when we stretch the hamstrings, etc. Just trying to use that exhale to see if you can go deeper in the pose, and if you can't, that's totally fine. We're just creating that awareness, that feedback mechanism for our brain, so we know, oh, this is really tight. And rather than avoiding the stretch, then we want to look at, can we then maybe stretch the adductors daily, or a couple times a week, as I mentioned in my video with Tom. So we're going to hold longer, but what we're going to do to see if we can go deeper is we're going to inhale and come out of the pose just a little. So just give the muscles that sense that they're free. And then as you exhale, see if you can come, even if it's just 0.5% deeper into the pose than where you just were. And we're going to hold for another 5 breaths here, so just under a minute. Last few breaths. And as we inhale, we're going to gently come up. Move that bolster to the side, bro, and we're just going to take the feet back into just wider than hips and just come into some windscreen wipers. So just grounding the feet, a couple of wipers either side, just moving the legs. Alright, and then we're going to grab our roller, so just going to set up to roll ITB. So thinking about you not being here, Lee, we know you love your ITB so much. Bro's going to take one for you, take one for the team.
You better do it tonight.
So if you could do that side on, can you do it side on that way, bro, so people can see what you're doing? So you'll see as we come into the pose to roll ITB, so iliotibial band, that bro's got that roller right side on to the outer edge. So we've just stretched the inner thigh. exactly the same position, we're just coming to the outside. So starting at the hip, as Bro's doing, and just working your way down that ITB or the iliotibial band, and coming to right to above the knee. So Bro will work his way down there, there's no rush. I'd recommend spending 2 minutes as a minimum here. 2 minutes will feel like 20 for most people's ITB because it's so tight. So you can do as Bro's doing, he's got quite good balance, so core strength there, or if you were a bit wobbly, you can place that top foot over towards me and on the ground, yeah. So that's how I roll my ITB. I find it a bit wobbly otherwise, but it's just whatever works for you. So just showing you some options. And then slowly working the way down the ITB. Most people just above the knee. So when we come down to the tibia end of the ITB is significantly tighter. You can just see Lee's face already. She'd be flapping around asking me if it's over yet. We've all seen that face, Lee.
Nowhere even closely.
So if you just want to hit right down near your knee, Bro, and then we'll change sides in a moment. Alright, and Bro looks like he's pretty done on that side, so let's change sides. I'm going to use the roller for a few movements today, so if you are joining this class at home and you don't have a roller, maybe skip this one, do one of the other ones for now, and then think about either maybe contacting B, if you can borrow or rent a roller from him. I don't think any of the shops have any gym equipment left, but you could definitely start getting creative. So roll up a towel and put some masking tape around it. You could possibly roll a towel or something around a broomstick or a couple of broomsticks and tape them. As I said, using an empty bottle, a glass bottle.
Massage gun.
Massage gun if you've got one. That kind of renders me purposeless, but that's okay. You can also, if you've got tennis balls, you can roll on tennis balls or trigger balls as well. It's generally speaking more painful, just because they do get really deeper into the muscles. We don't sort of have the length of the roller to sort of flounder around on. And you'll see that periodically, Bro's not just going up and down, he's also rocking his hips forward and back as well. So remember that concept of rolling up and down, and also that technique of flossing across the muscle fibers as well. And of course, if you find somewhere that's particularly tight, see if you can sink a little bit more weight, a little bit more pressure into that, and hold for a while, and then just roll up and down. So we're flushing toxins, releasing tension. And then once Bro's done on that side, we're going to flip over and do quads. So you can stay on the same leg if you like, Bro.
Yep.
Yep. Whatever works for you. And so we're just flipping onto our bellies now. And same with the quads. So same technique, 1 or 2 minutes here. Going right up to the top of the pelvis. For most people, again, right down in the knee is the most painful. You can see that flossing technique as well as the rolling technique. This is particularly good with the tennis ball, and when we do this at the gym with the tennis ball, those who are regular, we also bend the heel up towards the buttock, so that with the tennis ball increases the pressure down through the release. So we've got maybe another 5 or so breaths here. Like I was saying in the video yesterday and I think the day before, if you want to spend longer here, just press pause on YouTube. Just pause me, spend longer. And then you can just carry on when you're ready. So bro's going to change sides, so that's enough of that side. Really important with these big muscle groups, just to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, is that we do use the breath to help release the muscles. So don't hold your breath when you've got some tension. We want to allow the breath to be fluid. So just rolling the length of the quad. You might like to do a few passes depending on how much time you have. And so we've tried to target whole of leg muscle today. So we've done adductors on the inside, we've done the iliotibial band on the outside, and now we're hitting those 4 muscles that form the quads. And we might leave the quads there for now, but while bro's on his belly, we'll just put the roller to the side and grab one of those tennis balls. And we're just going to roll out through our pec.
Right.
So we can stay laying down. You guys at home that are playing at home, you can do this on your wall if you prefer to do the wall. And either having the arm out like bro's doing, or if you've got shoulder range of mobility, you can place the arm that you're working on into the low back. So I think that may be too tight for bro's shoulders.
Yeah, it's way too advanced for me though.
Way too advanced. We're starting to become full sun here, so bro's got the mobility sweats and actual sweats because the sun's really hitting the rotunda and Newfound Park quite nicely.
Got my prana on.
You've got your chakras open.
That's it.
And so we're just anything below collarbone we're wanting to roll out here. So again, like most of our mobility type stretches and flossing techniques, if there's somewhere that's tight, feel free to sink that in a little more. Oh, he's getting adventurous.
Warming up the muscle.
Warming up. He's probably done his massage gun for 20 minutes before we got here. For the ladies playing around at home, I think it's much easier to do this against the wall, obviously with the larger breast tissue, or you can also use a block as well. So if you've got a block at home or a pile of books or something, you can do that as well. We'll just take another couple of breaths here and then we'll just get bro to change sides just for the sake of time. I'm trying to keep these classes online to 30-35 minutes. Alright, that looks good, and we'll change sides. You don't have to keep moving side to side like bro does, he's just doing that because he's a wonderful actor, just so you can make sure his technique's on point.
Just in case it goes Hollywood style.
That's right, I mean we've had Tom L, he's already Hollywood star, now we've got bro. So again, just being mindful with the pecs, just anything below the collarbone, avoid the sternum. Once the muscles get warm, if you've got that range of movement through the shoulder girdle, the rotator cuff, you can take that hand to the low back. One side may be able to do it, one side won't. It just really depends on your mobility. Oh, you've changed your prana with bro, we've got no sun.
Yeah, I know, how did that?
take another few breaths here, just rolling out through the pec. And then we're going to hit a little bit of quad. So there's a pose, depending on how Bro's knees are, that he's very good at, that you guys can practice on at home. You may need a few extra props, but we'll see how we go today. Alright, so we're going to work into a little bit of more of a releasing pose for our quads. So we're going to grab the bolster, I'll get that. We're going to see if we can work into our hero pose. So sometimes we can do this 2 legs at a time. So I want to see if you can sit up onto your bolster or onto your pillows at home. And for some people this will be too much, even with a bolster or even with a block. Bro's normally quite comfy here.
Yeah.
Once you're up on your bolster, on your block, if you're comfy here, you can try and lean back into the pose a little. Or you can lay down. It really depends on what suits you. But we're pinning the quads in full flexion. And when we've got full flexion, it means that we're able to stretch completely through the quads. So we're pinning them down in our hero pose. We're going to aim to take another, if we can, 2 minutes here. So if you're not able to lay back into this pose, that's completely fine. You can just remain seated. This is one, as I mentioned, that Bro is quite good at. Sometimes when the knees are particularly tight, that's where we get most of the limiting factors in this pose. So if you're staying upright, or if you need an extra pillow or a couple of pillows, that's fine. Bro looks like he's fine here, so we'll aim to stay for another minute. Is that alright?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about that stranger there behind you.
No, she's alright.
Seen her somewhere before.
So my recommendation, if you're playing along at home and this is new for you, is not to come completely flat as quickly as what Bro did. So he's done this pose with me multiple times in class, but I would recommend that you slowly lean back into the pose, reassess, see how the knees feel, see how the back feels for those with tight lumbar and low thoracic spine, and then just keep progressing to lay flat if you can. A lot of us at CrossFit Resolve won't be able to lay flat, and again, that's okay. We don't want to sort of lay down and sit up all of a sudden and try and stand up, because that's when we're going to damage the knees. We'll take our last 2 breaths here. And then just being really mindful, so particularly if you're at home, when we come out of the pose, just move nice and slow. So sitting up first. If you've got a bolster behind you, just taking it to the side. And then slowly start to make your way forward onto hands and knees. So you can see that it can be challenging to come out of the pose and we need to move slowly. Once you have come out of the pose, just coming into a runner's lunge. So from hands and knees, just taking 1 foot back, ball of the foot down, work the heel away, or coming up to a down dog, whatever suits you. So just mobilizing through the knees again. And then once that side feels good, changing sides, or if you're in your down dog, just cycling the heels as Bro was doing. Just until they feel good. Alright, and then we're just going to take a comfortable seated position, so either sitting on the bottom, sitting cross-legged, or if you're quite tight, sitting with the legs out in front. We're just going to, yeah. So we're just going to roll the shoulders back and down, and then just work through a couple of neck stretches. So left ear, left shoulder. Got a little bit of extra mobility here. You can take the hand, left hand, to the outside of the ear, right ear. And gently releasing, changing sides. So inhale and then exhale, right ear, right shoulder. And gently releasing. If the neck is okay, we're taking chin to the ceiling. So once we've released, we'll exhale, chin to the ceiling. If you're wanting to move through what we did the other day with Tom into the scalene release, you can take the bottom jaw past the front teeth, so like we've got a big overbite, and stretch through the scalenes. And then inhale, coming through center, just drawing the chin back, so we have that activation of the hyoid bone and into the atlas at the first cervical fusion, and then chin to chest. If you're wanting a little bit more here, you can take both hands to the back of the head, draw down. And gently release. So that's us done. Again, CrossFit resolved. So I hope you've enjoyed Bro's class. You can leave him some comments. And again, if you've got any specific workouts or body parts that you want us to work through mobility, so that I won't film any more this week. That's 4 classes that you can work through for the next week or so, and I'll film some more. Joe Newman's coming on. Emily DLP is going to do some class. I'm trying to talk Sarah Hazard into doing a class, and of course we're all waiting for your famous entrance, Lee, so we will see you ladies next week. Otherwise, stay safe, take care, and please wash your hands.